The 2014 murder case of a 19-year-old learner who was allegedly beaten to death by his teachers will resume in the Nelspruit Regional Court. Two officials from Cefups Academy are accused of assaulting Paballo Seane for failing a test. A similar case took place 4 years ago in Gauteng. 16-year-old Sizwe Kubheka was left deaf after his teacher beat him with a belt. He died a week later. All corporal punishment was banned in South Africa in 1997, and obviously this includes at all schools as well. We're joined in Bloemfontein by Themba Ndhlovu, who is the spokesperson for the South African Council for Educators, or SABC, as you may know it better. Good to have you, Themba. Thank you very, very much for joining us here on Morning Live.
No, thanks for having us this morning.
Themba, if we look at South Africa and schools, how prevalent is corporal punishment, even after it was banned?
I must indicate, Glenn, that we are getting a lot of reports around the use of corporal punishment in our schools, and it is a worrying factor to us, actually, that after quite some time that corporal punishment has been banned from our schools, but we still see pockets of people still administering corporal punishment. It is a cause for concern to council, actually, that such behavior would need to stop one way or the other.
So what kind of accountability processes does the South African Council for Educators follow when dealing with schools that and teachers who still practice corporal punishment?
Remember, as we speak corporal punishment, we are dependent as council on cases that get reported to us. And immediately we get to know of a case, we then take the necessary steps, investigating the matter, if a need be, conducting a disciplinary hearing so that we conclude on the report that we have received. But as we speak of corporal punishment, sometimes we always look at it as a one-way kind of mechanism where teachers are the ones that are using corporal punishment on kids. We have seen a trend in our country recently where also children have taken up, I don't know why, the responsibility or an action of hitting their teachers and using violence against their teachers. We are saying as the Council for Educators, actually, there is no room for violence in our schools. Either is it coming from teachers or from learners. We need to make our schools centers where education takes place without any threat of violence. We are seeing our teachers raising very serious concerns with us around their safety, that they don't feel safe anymore at schools because learners have taken up to beating up teachers. We know learners are also raising the same concerns with us, that we cannot have it anymore. Yeah. That we are being beaten up by teachers amidst the fact that corporal punishment has been outlawed. We are saying, as a collective, as a nation, we need to ensure that violence in our schools has no place at all.
Yeah, but the reality is it may have no place, and we can say that, but it is there and it's getting worse, whether it be from the learner's side or the teacher's side, as you're saying. I mean, we're seeing teachers being beaten up by learners, learners being beaten up by teachers, even though the law stipulates otherwise. What is the solution? I mean, has it ever been to an extent like this? When corporal punishment was allowed in schools, was the situation like this?
I wouldn't want to speculate on whether the situation was like that, because as a teacher myself, I don't remember going through training and being taught to use corporal punishment in schools. But however, as council, we are engaging with the Department of Basic Education. Remember, very recently there was a session somewhere in Africa, in Malaysia in particular, where alternatives to to corporal punishment were being investigated. The issues of school safety were being dealt with. We are meeting with the directorate responsible for school safety in the department to try and look at what mechanisms can we implement in terms of ensuring that we come up with very practical solutions to this notion of alternatives to corporal punishment. We are engaging as council with school governing body organizations actually to say sometimes some of the issues we pick up from our teachers are that parents themselves are the one who encourage them to use corporal punishment on learners, but we always say to our teachers, please do not be misled to do something illegal in order to address a particular matter. So with all the structures that I've mentioned now, the department, the school governing body associations, we met with COSAS at some point where we convened an indaba essays around the issues of sexual molestation of learners. We did touch on the issues of violence in our schools, and we are glad that COSAS also as an organization feels something needs to be done. And I believe with these engagements taking place, we would be able to come up with a solution.
All right, we have to leave it there, Themba. I know it's the tip of the iceberg, but nonetheless, good to hear your views on this. Themba Ndhlovu is SABC spokesperson. He's in our Bloemfontein studios talking to us about the issue in schools at the moment between learners and teachers, the violence that exists, and how we get to the bottom of this.